Please subscribe to the channel and stay with me. This story is a slow burn, and every silence has meaning. On my 40th birthday, my wife knelt for another man. Not in prayer, not in apology. She knelt to fasten his cufflink, laughing softly. Her head bowed in a way I had not seen in years. The room fell into that peculiar hush that comes when people realize something indecent has happened, but pretend not to notice. Crystal glasses hovered midair. The string quartet missed a beat. Someone coughed. We were in Vienna, in my family's old apartment overlooking the Ringstrasse. The ceilings high with stucco angels who had watched my grandfather build his fortune and my father lose his soul trying to keep it. Outside, snow brushed the windows like an apology the city had already forgotten how to make. I smiled. I raised my glass. I said nothing. The man was Lucas Brandner, my wife's mentor, a venture capitalist with perfect hair and a talent for turning proximity into power. He had arrived late, wearing a suit too casual for the room, confidence slung over his shoulder like a coat he never removed. When my wife, Helena, knelt, his hand settled on her shoulder as if it belonged there. The touch was proprietary, practiced. "Happy birthday, Elias," she had said earlier, kissing my cheek with lips that smelled faintly of mint and something metallic. Fear, perhaps. I stayed silent because silence has weight in families like mine. It sinks. It waits. It remembers. I grew up in rooms like this, where men learned early that anger was a luxury and revenge a craft. My grandfather taught me chess when I was 7. "Never take the queen in a rush," he said, tapping the board with a finger that had signed away 100 livelihoods. "End the game by ending her moves." Helena had been the rejected one once, the youngest of 3 sisters from Graz. Clever and sharp, always second best in a family that valued shine over steel. Her father praised her beauty only when it could be leveraged. Her mother taught her how to smile when doors closed. When Helena married me, they said she had married stability, not love. I didn't contradict them. I believed love could be built like a house, brick by patient brick. For years I absorbed small humiliations, as one absorbs winter. Slowly, inevitably, Helena corrected me in public. She laughed when her sisters mocked my quietness. She told stories that turned me into a footnote in my own life. Each cut was precise, each apology afterward immaculate. The night of my birthday, the cuts became visible. I noticed the marks later when the guests thinned and the quartet packed away their instruments. On Helena's knees, faint bruises, yellowing at the edges. On her wrist, a red line where a watch had been too tight or a grip too firm. She noticed my gaze and pulled her dress down. Too late. "Don't," she said softly, her voice warning, not pleading. "Not tonight." "Of course," I replied. I poured her a glass of wine. I kissed her temple. I smiled. I waited an hour. In that hour, I ended her life. Not her breathing, not her pulse, but the life she'd constructed on borrowed power and borrowed silence. I made 3 calls and sent 4 messages. I opened a folder I'd been feeding for months, patiently, like a fire kept low until the house learns to burn. You see, Lucas Brandner had underestimated me. He mistook quiet for absence. He mistook my habit of listening for consent. Over the past year, I had noticed patterns. Helena's sudden promotions that bypassed procedure, Lucas's investments routed through shell companies, favors traded for proximity. I had documented everything. Vienna teaches you to archive. The city is built on layers of secrets, each preserved because someone once decided not to destroy them. At midnight, while Helena slept, I emailed the supervisory board of Lucas's firm, attaching documents that traced influence peddling and coercion like a map of veins. I copied the compliance unit, the financial crimes division, and a journalist I trusted, a woman whose family name had been broken by men like Lucas and who never forgot. By morning, the story broke quietly. By noon, it roared. Helena woke to messages that did not stop. Her phone vibrated like an insect trapped in glass. She sat up, hair disheveled, panic blooming. "What did you do?" she asked. I smiled. I said. I stayed silent. She dressed in a hurry, hands shaking. Her reflection in the mirror looked smaller, stripped of the confidence she borrowed from rooms like mine. She tried to leave. I handed her an envelope. Inside were copies, emails, recordings, a timeline of meetings, dates she had lied about, hotels she had sworn were conferences. At the bottom, a simple note in my handwriting: "I will not protect you from the consequences you chose." She cried then, real tears. She told me about her father, about being taught to kneel early so she could stand later. She told me Lucas promised safety, promised power, promised not to humiliate her the way I had, by being unremarkable. I listened. I always did. "But you knelt," I said finally. "In my house." The fallout was surgical. Lucas resigned before he could be fired. Investigations multiplied. His friends evaporated. Helena's position became untenable. Her sisters stopped calling when association became risk. Her parents suggested distance, then silence. We separated quietly, as families like mine do. No scenes, no raised voices. The apartment returned to its original stillness, angels watching again. Helena moved to a smaller place across the river. Her life narrowed to essentials. She asked once if I hated her. "No," I said. "Hate requires proximity." Spring came late that year. The snow melted into the Danube, carrying reflections with it. I walked the city alone, past cafes and concert halls, past men who thought kneeling was invisible if it happened in the right rooms. I thought of my grandfather's chessboard. I had not taken the queen in a rush. I had ended her moves. On my next birthday, there was no party, just a quiet dinner, a glass of wine, the city breathing outside the window. I raised my glass to no one in particular. Silence, I had learned, is not emptiness. It is a choice, and sometimes it is the hour in which a life ends and another begins.